Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to everybody. And thank you so much for joining us again. Welcome back to Jewelry Industry Voices, the webinar series hosted by Sibjo. We've been away for a while, away for a few months, so it's so nice to be back with you all. It's great to hear and see your messages in the chat room. Please feel free to post it and connect with other professionals all around the world. I'm in London, and the weather here, it's a pretty beautiful winter's day here today, actually. February has been very kind to us so far, but there is a big storm coming in here in UK. So I hope everything is good for all of you, wherever you may be joining us from. So again, welcome back to Jewelry Industry Voices. This is the webinar series hosted by Sibjo, the World Jewelry Confederation. For regular attendees, you will know that we look at issues of interest in the jewelry business from the perspective of industry leaders, with a focused conversation around a specific topic. So today, we will continue with a theme that we seem to keep on coming back to in our events: the impact of new technologies, particularly the use of online platforms to sell diamonds, gemstones, pearls, and jewelry. So our focus today is the growing use of these diamond trading platforms and how this is changing the business, including how buying decisions are made. So we want to talk about the data. How does it change the business? How accurate it is, and how will it improve efficiency in the future? We want to look at how the diamond trading platforms have evolved and how they're impacting on the structure and growth of the overall industry. And we want to look at the benefits of statistical analysis of data for all players all along the diamond supply chain. Firstly, if I can, sincere thanks to our sponsor today, our technology sponsor for season 3 of Jewelry Industry Voices, Uni Diamonds. So thank you so much to Mahir Bohanju and everyone at Uni for your support. We really appreciate it. Uni is a marketplace driven to transform the luxury industry by utilizing real-time data to develop more transparency and trust in the jewelry trade. Starting with the diamond industry, Uni develops technology-centric tools and logistics services, enabling a better overall experience in diamond transactions globally. So welcome again. My name is Edward Johnson. I'm your co-moderator today, and I'm here in London. I'm also joined by Steve Benson, the World Jewelry Confederation's Director of Communications. Steve, good afternoon to you. How's everything in Tel Aviv today? You might want to unmute.
Sorry about that. That tends to happen, as you will find out. Everything is good. I was just saying that there's a storm coming over here. Here we don't have those issues. I'll just give a few sort of technical details about how we run the webinar. There is a Q&A box, and we would like you to ask questions if you have any, but that you do put it into the Q&A box, and then at the end of the webinar, we will run through as many of them as possible. If they're short questions, our panelists might choose to answer them themselves in writing. The chat box also is open, and you can use that as you at will, and make and comment as well. The webinar is set to run for an hour. We try to keep to an hour. We'll tell you ahead of time. We tend to run over a bit. We'll do our best to stay on schedule. It's also recorded, so you will be able to either at the end of today or tomorrow at the latest, we will have the recording up on the SIBJO YouTube channel and also in the webinar section of the website. And that's about all that I have at this stage for you. So what I would like to do is to introduce Gaetano Cavalieri, the SIBJO president, just to say a few words of welcome, and then we'll get the show on the road. Gaetano?
Thank you very much, Stephen and Ed. And let me thank our esteemed speakers. Today we have a topic that it is very interesting. I hope that all of you will enjoy. I have seen from the list of attendees that we have very, very important people as well, obviously our speakers, and it will be challenging for us, but still we do not have any problem in challenging. And we believe that at least we give our contribution to the industry in order to debate subjects and issues that are important to all of us in order to grow and flourish as much as we can. So thank you very much and enjoy the webinar.
Gaetano, thank you for that welcome. Let me get to the panelists, if I can, to briefly introduce them to you all. So firstly, we have Mahir Borhanju, the CEO for Uni Diamonds. Mahir has a unique mix of international experience gained leading operations within world-renowned companies. After senior executive roles with De Beers and Venus Jewels, he joined Uni in 2019. And Mahir, you're also a regular with us here on Jewelry Industry Voices. I think this is your fourth or maybe even fifth time to join us. So thank you. Good afternoon. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. I'm actually quite excited to be here as a part of this panel group, and thank you for the invitation.
Great. Nice to have you back with us. And next, we travel out to central Russia for Sofia Kravchenko. Sofia is part of the Moscow team at Bain & Company, and Bain annually conducts or reviews the diamond industry supply chain and releases a report, which was just recently released last week. I'll put the link in the post in a minute. It's a very widely followed report, so we're honored to have you with us today. She is an MBA graduate from the MIT Sloan School of Management and with a very strong track record in management consultant. So welcome, Sofia, and tell us a little bit about where you are for this evening for you.
Hi, Ed. Hi, everybody. Do you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, so I'm based right now in the middle of Russia in Novokuznetsk. It's considered one of the mining capitals, actually coal mining capitals of Russia. And it is 9 p.m. in the evening for me. But I'm so excited to join the session and talk a little bit about diamonds, about the report, about the trends we've observed during the last years, especially on data.
Thanks, Sophia. Welcome, and thanks for joining so late at night. Next to Midwest, we go to Julie Rodway-Yoakum. Julie is based in Kansas City, Missouri, the headquarters for Helzberg Diamonds. Helzberg is a family business, but with a nationwide omnichannel retail presence. And Julie is a seasoned executive leader with deep merchandising and branding experience. And Helzberg is a Berkshire Hathaway company. Julie, nice to have you with us, and thank you so much for joining from the US. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. It's a little bit chilly here this morning. Woke up to a nice blizzardy snowstorm, but I'm inside and warm, so all is good. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And last but definitely not least, Raj Mehta, who is the director of Rosy Blue. Now, Raj heads the company's polished diamond division and is based in Antwerp, the diamond capital of the world. He is in charge of business development and distribution optimization through continuous improvement in operational efficiency and implementation of new enterprise software solutions. His broad understanding of the industry is built on decades of experience, spanning rough diamond sourcing, polished diamond manufacturing, and sales. Raj, we're so honored and pleased to have you with us today. How are you?
Thank you very much, Ed. I'm fine, thank you. Hello from Belgium to everybody. And thank you, Sibjo, for inviting me on this platform. Very, very glad to be part of the panel and looking forward. Thank you.
Let's get started. A quick disclaimer, if I can. Please note that none of the opinions or information offered in this event constitutes any legal, financial, or official advice. Sibjo provides a global perspective on the gem and jewelry industry. So please, for more precise information, we encourage you to play an active part in your local trade associations and seek advice relevant to your location and your business. Let's dive into some questions, and I'd like to first start with some history and give you some context on why we're talking about data, decision-making, and also online trading. And Sophia, if we can go to you first, your most recent Bain report, the 11th, is titled "A Brilliant Recovery Shapes Up." Now, these are co-authored, by the way, with AWDC, the Antwerp World Diamond Committee. And what do you see as the main changes in the diamond industry over the 11 years that Bain has been studying it?
Yeah, that was quite a trip, actually speaking, during the last 11 years of writing the reports. And you know that we're usually focusing on the trends, and in a way, while with the preparation for this speech, for the webinar, I had to really run through all the last 11 reports. And actually speaking, there are 4 big trends that you can see all over the years that are pretty visible across the years. I would say that the first one is efficiency. And here you could actually focus on all segments of the value chain. So we talk about upstream. We've seen a lot of streamlining of the production processes in mining, in processing of diamonds, in sorting of diamonds, in the sales process, and proper and more efficient rough pricing mechanism optimization. In terms of the midstream, for example, we've seen a lot of consolidation and implementing of the new software and new equipment to plan better, gain higher yields, streamline manufacturing process, and lower the costs and lowering labor costs as well. In terms of the downstream, in terms of the efficiency, I would say that really the online and digitalization of the customer experience really ran a lot of efficiency in the downstream, helping to optimize as well the purchasing and the warehouse inventory management. So if we think about the first trend, I would say that efficiency is all across the board. Yeah. One more trend that we saw, that we've seen during the last several years, was focus on ESG. It's also something that was important across all segments of the value chain, starting from decreasing the CO2 footprint, focusing on giving back to the communities, increasing transparency of the operations, and of course, traceability of diamonds. The third trend that I wanted to highlight separately, because of course, if the downstream is not super efficient and if the customers are not buying the diamonds, then the whole industry is struggling. So I would say that there is an increase of focus and investments in marketing and change of the customer experience. So we've seen the revival of the generic and brand marketing during the recent years, and we've seen a lot of growth of target marketing and change of the way how the downstream is selling. Yeah. And I think the last but not the least, the fourth trend that I wanted to mention is of course transparency and data sharing. So I think this one goes without saying, and this is something that we'll talk today during the whole webinar. So 4 trends: efficiency, ESG, marketing, and transparency.
thank you so much for highlighting the transparency and the data, because yes, that is a key one, but it's also what we're going to focus on here. So that's a nice segue into the conversation, and thanks for that outline there, Sophia. And by the way, it's been pointed out my schoolboy error. AWDC is the Antwerp Wild Diamond Centre. My apologies. Mahir, let's turn to you if we can. Now, in your career, you've worked all along the diamond supply chain, from rough sales through manufacturing and polished sales, and now establishing Uni Diamonds, which is an ecosystem for the diamond trade. How critical do you feel is the big data capacity and big business intelligence aspect to your model with Uni? And do you feel that you've broken new ground in this respect?
So the answer is it's actually the center of what we do, and I learned this the hard way, going through the various parts of the value chain and trying to get actual real data within the industry that can be used, that's not sentiment driven, and focused on real trade, focused on actual prices, and the ecosystem that we developed actually centers itself on data first. So we took the data, created the platform. From the platform, we created financing. From financing, we kind of developed ways to work much more closer with our retail partners and provide them real-time data to be able to work with the consumers. So for me, and for Uni specifically, we really want to move the business away from sentiments and feelings and individual pricing understanding, and develop products that can help our vendors on the manufacturing side and wholesale side, as well as our retail partners, to use real data to be able to understand where the market is, how the market is moving, what's not moving, what sizes are popular, what products are selling, and also how to rethink their business. And that, I think, is a very critical thing. We kind of see ourselves as many consultants. Bain is definitely above and beyond what we do, but to be able to help our retail partners, for example, reconsider purchases of 1.00 carat diamond when they would have never done so, and show them data and statistics and information around, why they should consider that as a luxury brand, really gives me pride that we're doing what we set out to do, which is really transform the industry using the data and information that the industry has, and sharing it with the industry overall.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that introduction. That's good to hear. It is all about the data, and going forward, that gives so many opportunities, instead of the sort of gut feeling that some people have been using for generations. But we're moving now into a different era. Yeah. Raj, can I turn to you now from Rosy Blue's perspective? How did you incorporate online trading into your business model, and how has it changed the way you view the market and the supply chain?
So basically, few years ago, what we are realizing is, of course, when you're a manufacturer, you have all sorts of diamonds coming out of a rough parcel. So you have the clean to VSSI qualities coming out, and as well, all sorts of colors, D to JKL colors, and so on. So while you are busy with programs and business which is on a regular base, you're always left with some goods which we were unable to sell over the table or with programs, and looking for the right clients. So we thought of why not use the online platform services and see if that works for those stones that we are not able to move them ourselves over the table, like I explained. So we went into on those platforms that were available to the market, and that has quite changed for us. So basically, we found clients that we were not able to find the reach So that was basically the reason why we incorporated the online platforms into our business model. And it has helped us in those ways to be able to sell other stones than we were always selling. And of course, with that, what came is we realized that the stock turns and everything improved. And then the cost efficiencies, of course, along with that, improved as well. So we realized that online platforms are a great way to put your stones out to the world, basically, expose them to find the right client for each stone. And of course, the gap between within the market, so what I would say the supply chain has come closer. So it's the miners, the manufacturers, and if you can say so, using the online platforms, and then you have the retailers. So the gap has become smaller, shorter, which improves the efficiencies. So that's basically why we started using the online platforms.
And shortening the supply chain is something that any consultant will tell you is a good thing for every player, and especially is good for the consumer. So that's one of the major steps that's been taking place.
Yes.
And Julie, if we can turn to you as the representative of the retail industry here from your seat with Helzberg. Now, you came to Helzberg, which, let's face it, is one of the US industry's historical anchors. It was a large multi-store retailer. But you also came with experience of online diamond trading in your previous roles. So from a strategic and business management perspective, how has your perspective changed now that you're working for quite a traditional family store-based business from your previous experience?
Actually, it's a good question, because what I have found in my tenure here at Helzberg is that the business, while it has progressed, from the customers being able to transact online, it is still what I would call a very old-fashioned business. I think of it as, Sophia talked about upstream. I'm in the pond. I'm the last 18 inches across from the customer. And that really has not changed a whole lot. And that is where I think there is a huge opportunity to close this gap from the perspective of utilizing data, making it even, bringing it even further downstream to help engage consumers and get rid of some of the cynicism that has built up over years and years and years in this particular industry. There's the transparency is critical to help build that trust. And so I would say that, again, I'm hopeful that what we're talking about can actually move down, because it hasn't changed much. Interestingly, where I came from, I felt like we were much more transparent. The customer had much more access to a lot more data that not necessarily we were giving them the answers, but it was out there for them to look at. And so that's very different from where I am now.
And so nowadays, I mean, how do you feel is the best way? You talked about transparency and sharing information, which is critical for the consumer to feel confident and not be so cynical, I think is the word you used, about the industry. How do you think we can and should share information more broadly within our diamond community?
I think that particularly with the consumers who we are bringing into this pipeline, they're younger, they are, they're net natives, they have information at their fingertips. They actually expect it in order to make a considered an important purchase, let alone, even a $10 purchase. They want information. And so the more we can give them, the Bain report, as an example, is voluminous. However, there's pieces of that report that could be really interesting to be consumer facing, just to talk about what is going on in the industry and what is being done, and making the consumer more a part of it, so that when they actually are making a purchase, it's not foreign to them for the first time. Because let's face it, nobody needs a diamond until they think they need a diamond. It's not something that is in, at the forefront of their knowledge base. So that transparency, I think, is just, people are hungry for information, and I think we should be more forward about giving it. Knowledge is power, and it will only help to grow our industry, as opposed to having this particular demographic, decide to make an alternate purchase.
It's interesting you say nobody needs a diamond until they need a diamond. I mean, it seems that the past 12 months or more has been fantastic for the diamond industry, and many people,
Yes.
People equate that to the need, after we've gone through what we've been through in the past 2 years,
Yes.
to feel a greater connection with each other. Have you seen that at the sales counter?
Absolutely. Yeah, our wedding sales were spectacular last year, and we see it going into this year as well. People definitely are finding that there is some, no doubt about it. It's a commodity, but it turns into an emotional purchase, and so that's where we have to kind of create that crossover from, it's emotional, but it's also an expensive purchase. So let's give them that information so that they're feeling comfortable about getting emotional.
Comfortable with getting emotional. There we go. We got a soundbite already. Thank you. Let's turn to the benefits and advantages of online trading and data collection. And Raj, if I can turn to you first, from the perspective of a company executive, how do you quantify the benefits to Rosy Blue of using these online platforms when you choose to?
So benefits, basically what we understand by using these online platforms is more detailed info from what is more in demand. So shape, sizes, color clarities, the 4 C's basically. We can understand that better. And when we understand that even better, and of course with the price transparencies of online platforms, it's easier and it's better information, more efficient information that we can pass on to our manufacturing division. Therefore, it helps to turn our stock faster, better, in a more improved way. Helps our financial, of course, investments to use our funding in a much better way, of course. And then at the same time, the supply chain just becomes shorter because we are moving everything faster. Yeah. So there is lots of benefits that we get out of that. And of course, the market info that you have is more direct. So there is no, basically like the telephone game. So one person passing the message to another, it's much more direct information, and it's real information. So we can use it better for our supply chain, the whole manufacturing and the way we sell our stones. Yeah,
I like that approach. As you say, the telephone game. I mean, we've all seen it on websites where the information about the diamond has been passed on from somebody else and it was wrong in the first place.
Yes, rumors they can pass and they're not necessarily correct. So it's probably better to have direct information.
Great. Sophia, in your report, I've put the link in the chat, so I really do encourage people to dive into that over the weekend and digest it. You wrote, I quote, "The diamond industry invested heavily in technology to gain operational efficiency, create marketing and consumer experiences that attracted buyers, and accelerate e-commerce schemes." Now, from your research that you were conducting last year for the report, what does it show are the main benefits that you heard of to using these midstream online sales platforms?
Yeah, Ed, this is a very good question. And though when you're saying midstream online platforms, I would say again, and wanted to emphasize that they are valued not only by the midstream. So, and they're good not only for the midstream. And I'll give you a couple of examples. So first of all, in terms of the upstream, so you don't know how many times the upstream players approached us as a strategy consultancy to help them to price better and understand better what's in demand right now in the midstream, how it's better to develop the rough pricing mechanism, how it's better to track the polished prices, and how better to sell the rough diamonds. So in a way, additional data in the midstream on polished diamonds actually gives a lot of the value to the upstream. Then I think besides what was already told about the midstream and again, the downstream, and Julie might add here as well. So from our perspective, it really helps to understand which polished categories are right now undervalued. You could try to understand what is really in demand. You could try to, in a way, to optimize the inventory and purchase better the polished diamonds to sell them better going forward. Actually, if you think about the diamond value chain, it's not only upstream, midstream, and downstream, it's also the financial institutions. And actually, this online sales platforms gives a lot of the information to the diamond banks and other financing institutions to understand what's going on and where the market is going, and to make better decisions and finance better the diamond industry, so that it won't they won't think anymore that it's something like a black box and you don't know how you're financing and who you're financing, and how to best get the interest paid back in the end of the period. And I also wanted to highlight actually another category, and that was actually one of the reasons why we started the reports, because we were actually approached by the investor community that were asking us to tell more about the industry, and in a way to explain more in a simple words, what is it about and how does it work? So I wanted to emphasize as well the investors and shareholders. So in a way, the owners of certain companies and people who do want to add additional money and additional value in the industry, and they are very interested in the information. So this online sales platforms is, of course, a very good source of information and indication of the health of the industry and additional information of where you should put the money and why.
Great. Thank you. That's good about the banks. That was a good thing to point out about the benefits, you know, so crucial as a stakeholder for the diamond industry. We've got good perspectives of the benefits so far, but I'd really like again to turn to the retailer in the room and basically ask the same question to you, Julie. You know, but starting with that, you know, when you're choosing how you source or where you source or with whom you source your diamonds, what are the main value factors that a retailer such as Helzberg looks for?
Well, what I would say is that the way we source is slightly different again than how we did in my previous life, but we are still, I would say, a bit more, I'll use the term old-fashioned, but it's all about the relationships and the partnerships that we have with our suppliers. And much of the reason is because we are further down the chain. We do some direct sourcing, but we also source diamonds through our manufacturers who is actually making the product for us. So we really have to have a good partnership and understanding from a trust standpoint that we are getting the diamonds that are, you know, priced right, that are the qualities that we need, et cetera. So it's still what I would say that I think there's opportunity for more visibility and more direct access to that data from our standpoint.
Okay, great. And Maya, if we can finish off with you, for the benefits and advantages of online diamond trading platforms, I'd like to ask you not what you think are the advantages, but what do your clients tell you are the advantages?
Your questions are always really good. I'll use a few examples of a few of our partners that we have, downstream retailers who are utilizing our system. One of the retailers actually changed the way that they're purchasing diamonds. Like Helzberg, they have relationships with some companies, and they want to keep those relationships because they've had them for 20 or 30 years. What we were able to accomplish for them utilizing data is the ability for them to actually use our systems to import their own existing customers' data and information onto our platform, but it's branded to their retail name. By the way, it doesn't have our name onto it. But in addition to that, it has additional goods that are, part of the $2-point-something billion of live inventory that we carry on a daily basis. So what this has allowed our retail partners to be able to do is supplement what they have in their retail stores with a lot more diamonds, but also in a live format to continue their relationships with their existing partners, to make sure that what they're choosing is actually a part of what they have, or a part of what their partners have, or a part of the greater industry. And we can bespoke the product based on our customers' needs and demand. Because if imagine being able to virtualize a diamond. I showed this to you guys last time. When the stone is 3,000 miles away from you in your retail store to a consumer. And that capability and being able to provide that immediate kind of sensation to a consumer helps actually sell the product story and the ethical sourcing of it, and where it came from and the history behind the diamond. So these are the things that our customers are now more and more looking for, and that's why I think it makes sense. If I break it down to a second part on the data, we have a retail partner who I'm sure some of you guys can appreciate, said to us in January of last year, I need to buy ovals. I just don't know if I should. And we were able to help them and analyze the data and information based on the market conditions and everything else of where the prices are moving to, what the trends are looking for the diamonds, so that they can make an informed decision whether they should buy the ovals or not. Because their concern was, whenever we buy goods, in 2 to 3 months the prices drop, and then we're held basically with a price differentiation a price differentiator that we're going to have to now eat, because there's a change in prices. Where in reality, what we've been able to really help them do is make the right buying decisions, utilizing the data and information and technology that we're putting in front of their fingertips, to really focus on their core needs and requirements. So we've been able to really help some of our retail partners become even more successful than what they were in the past, using the data and transparency and live information that we can provide them.
Thank you. And that does segue into the next set of questions, which I think is key to this discussion, is data driving efficiency. And Raj, if I can come back to you, simple, straight question: how does data help your business?
Wow. So yeah, that's like a very direct and very strong question.
Forgive me.
So data, of course, helps the business. There is no doubt about it. So there's lots of different data that we can use to do different kinds of things with the business. And one thing is predict scenarios. So for example, you take past historical data. And you can start predicting by tweaking those data into different modes and see what kind of scenario would happen with option 1, option 2, option 3. And with that, you can like save those data, that the outcome of those data. And then accordingly, wherever the market takes you, you can use that option, whichever the option is suitable for that market that comes across in the future. So it gives you predictions. You can predict scenarios. So that's a very important part of what data does. Secondly, there's lots of different areas of data. So there could be data just not on business, but it could also be on different areas of the business. And then that could be also on carbon footprint and could be on different areas, compliance and everything. So every data that we use, we try and implement them into the business. And it, of course, helps us to move forward in a way that the company needs to. Also to go through the storms and the kinds of things that we have experienced over the last 2 years with the business. So yes, pricing data, transparency, all these things are very useful for our business, and we try and see different scenarios with that. So of course, data is very important. And like Mayar just explained also on his previous question, that $2 billion of inventory, is that what you said, Mayar? Yeah. So with all that on his platform, it's good for us to be on such a platform where there's a lot more stones than just our stones. What happens with that is we try to understand, are we better or are we worse, or are we at the market, or are we par, are we below, are we higher, where do we stand? So all those kinds of data that we can pull from all these platforms is helping definitely our business. So your question is totally correct, and yeah, so that's
with the volume that's traded, of course, that's a phenomenal amount of volume on there. But does all of that trading that's done online, does it accurately reflect the market enough for you to base very expensive diamond production decisions on?
No, it's so I would say yes, it is very accurate, but we cannot only take that. We also take the programs that we have into consideration. We have to see the scenarios also into place. So we combine them together. But what online platforms do give is transparency. And so online platforms give us different data. Offline business gives us a different data. And we try and combine them together to see what suits us best for our business, of course. Okay. So it's a combination. It's never but one can't work without the other. That's definitely the case.
Great. Maher, you've got something to add.
Yeah, thanks. And I think what Raj said is spot on. If you look at what we do on our platform, we never provide, and actually I had this conversation with Raj when we first started our platform, where he said, well, how can you just, give a price for a diamond? We don't. We actually give 3 prices for each diamond, because we recognize diamonds have a unique value proposition. And when you're selling to a brand and you're selling, and you're doing a lot more QCing, a lot more work, and your polishing it has to be spot on in every aspect of it, that diamond is priced different than a diamond that is at the border of the excellent cut, excellent polish, excellent symmetry, and has opens and has various unique characteristics within the diamond that makes it less desirable as the one that you spent a lot more time polishing. So we always provide a 3-pronged price policy to allow our customers to have the dialogue around where does this diamond lie within the spectra of the diamonds that are available out there. And the information that we're gathering from the industry and the information that we're providing back into the industry, I think can be used in such a smart way to be able to really understand the movements and transitions and how things are going, and how the price of evolution is going through, rather than just guesses and sentiments. I spoke with India and they're selling everything out, so prices are going to go up this week. Or, you know, US had $90 billion, congratulations United States, of diamond sales, so we're going to increase prices. Those are great things, but when you actually see the supply and demand results of how things are moving and where prices are going, and use the data for your benefits as a manufacturer, a wholesaler, or a retailer, that's when you're actually transforming your business from the 135 years of doing business to becoming really data-driven and rethinking the decision-making processes that you have within this industry.
Great.
Look at that. I used your theme this time.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate that. I see a few people have put a few questions in the Q&A. Thank you very much. We'll be coming to them in a few minutes when we've turned the corner. But Julie, I'd really like, again, the retail perspective here. And, you know, we've talked about how important it is for the industry to be less secretive, more transparent, allow the customer to be more trusting in every jeweler that's selling out there. And do you see, or do you feel that there's any trading data and analysis that could be helpful for the consumer to build that trust and the confidence when they're purchasing?
I think it's you know, certainly very complicated, but I do think, again, I'll go back to just the more transparency in terms of how our industry works and what drives the supply and demand. It's, you know, the perception is what it is, and that is that it's a very controlled product. And you know, you can use just the current situation with what's going on with diamond pricing today, that is ultimately going to impact the customer, and them not really understanding the whys behind that. You know, I think it's interesting to listen to the things that Sophia has talked about in terms of from the upstream, in terms of how much more efficient and you know, getting more efficient with labor and understanding the process and making that, and that doesn't translate to why diamonds would be more expensive when it ultimately hits the consumer. And the other thing that I would throw out there as a question to this group is the data is absolutely king. You know, we drive our entire business based on that. Mahir, I think you said, I liked it. It was, you know, taking the emotion out of this at the level where we're actually analyzing the data. That's really important. But there's also, I think, something that as our industry, we don't do well, and that is understand different influences that are impacting our business. And so I'll be the bomb thrower and, you know, bring up the elephant in the room, which is lab grown diamonds. You know, how are we using that in our data analysis to understand what's going to happen to our industry and what's going on with it? You know, not just where the diamond is in the chain.
Well, why don't I throw that across to Sophia? Sophia, what was your research telling you about the importance of using data when selling diamonds? And, you know, maybe was there anything in there about that elephant in the room, the lab grown?
Oh, well, in general, Ed, I would actually split the topic into two levels. I think I would split it into micro level, and as everybody were talking about, the data is really the power, and it's the power for a certain entity to make like good decision on the fair market price, on how to sell, which channel to use, whether to sell it online, whether to sell it over the table, what kind of platform to use, what is the dynamics of the price, what are the trends, what's the best strategy to sell, or what should you sell now, what should you keep for a while and maybe like to sell a little bit later. So in a way, make some certain predictions. So this is, I would say, the micro level. Then I think on a macro level, going like looking at the elephant, one of the elephants in the room, I would say that we need to understand that the data and that kind of the data that we are talking about, like the sales and the pricing data, really shows us and helps us to increase the speed of reaction. So I wanted to emphasize that the reasons of the crisis that the diamond industry has faced during 2015, during 2019, so they were not in a way, the external reasons. They were really the diamond industry specific crisis that's really mostly happened because of the lack of transparency and the very slow speed of reaction. So in a way, if the midstream would understand better that the downstream is not really growing in the way they would expect, then the midstream would react. And in the same way, the upstream would understand earlier and much faster in how, in a way, to optimize their own operations and their sales process and their sales agreements, not to get to the situation of overstocking across the whole industry. So in my perspective, I would say this is one of the key reasons why we do need the data. In terms of the lab grown, I think this is a very good question as well. You might know that we are tracking all the data across the lab grown platforms and different companies that are selling lab growns, and we are trying to understand the current price levels and compare lab grown price levels to natural diamond price levels, and to in a way to show to the diamond community and investor community where those two products are going, what are the trends between those two groups, how the segments are doing together, or if they are diverging or in a way aligning. So in a way, and so what I wanted to say is that with the emergence of these online platforms that are selling natural diamonds and lab grown diamonds, it became easier for everyone. And this is actually like the reasons why we are here on the market, because of the data that we are providing, and of course with the help of all the online platforms that are working right now in the industry. And again, I wanted to, by the way, to say thank you to Mahir, because Uni Diamonds is also one of the sources of the information that are helping us a lot to build the report and provide the proper view to the industry and the investor community.
It's good. Well, thank you. And Mahir, you did have something to add.
I did, and thank you, and thank you, Sophia, but also thank you very much to Julie for bringing the elephant into the room. Although I would call it a panda, because elephants are mostly in Africa, and pandas are mostly in China. So I call it the panda in the room. But the comment is in some ways it's somehow related to what the retailers decide to do. And this is where I think, if you look at the data and information, I don't think man-made is that negative, because it's for me, if I look at it, I've said this story before. When I was a teenager, I wanted a Swatch watch, because to me, that was the ultimate greatest thing to have. Yeah. But then when I grew up, I wanted a Rolex. Now, if you ask me, I want a Patek Philippe. It was an aspirational thing for me to start this kind of desire for other products that are out there. In my old days in De Beers, we used to say that, well, there was a study that was done. It wasn't something that De Beers said, but the study would show that if a woman owns one diamond, more than likely they will actually want to own at least 3 more diamonds in their life cycle. Now, whether that diamond is man-made or natural, doesn't really matter. It helps create the aspiration and desire for people to actually want to purchase more. But if natural becomes at a certain point too expensive to meet and match the price points within a retail space, then the retailers may actually want to think differently in what they sell, how they sell, and how they approach natural versus man-made. So the working of this is really focused on what the consumer wants, how the retailer actually positions to the consumer what they are looking for, and also for us as an industry to understand our product and or products, natural or man-made, the price gaps and differentiations, the resale value of the products that are that are there, and how we can all take advantage of that whole thing. But the most critical thing, understanding that we're all stewards of what we're doing. We need to make sure that what we do is helping the industry continue to grow and flourish. We had a phenomenal year as a natural diamond business last year, and looking forward to hopefully having another one this year. But we need to make sure that we're cautious and working in a cautiously optimistic way this year to make sure that natural continues to have its position and footing, market it properly, show all of the great things that natural diamonds do in this world in order for consumers to continue to want to have that as a piece of aspiration for their engagement, for the birth of their children, etc. So it's a very, very fine line of making sure that we're working together as an industry, not in an illegal way, but in a very legal way, to make sure that we're supporting the industry effectively.
Yeah, thank you for those thoughts. All very appropriate, but I think I especially like the analogy of the panda in the room. I'm gonna take that one up. That's good. Listen, we're coming round to the hour, so if I can just ask each of you in turn the same question as a final quick thoughts before we get to some questions from the audience. What additional data do you think platforms should supply that retailers could use to make diamonds more appealing to the consumer? All right. Raj, maybe as the manufacturer at the start, can I start with you on that? What additional data do you think platforms could supply that'll help the retailers?
Well, I mean, platforms could definitely supply, I mean, as far as the information is concerned, more about what is available on the market. As far as diamonds are concerned, what more is available. But for me, this question is quite, I mean, sorry to say, it was a little strange because the retailer is the person who is mostly in contact with the consumer, and therefore it should come from the retailer and say that what more do you do? I mean, they should actually tell us what more do they need, and what are their problems, or what help do they need, or what are they considering for their next season, and then we can probably come down to some kind of a solution by discussing and by talking about what they need, because they are the closest to the consumers, and basically we all are here. I mean, everybody here on this platform or anywhere in the jewelry industry, everybody is here to satisfy the consumer and consumers' demands. And retailers being the closest, I would say that they would be the best ones to tell upstream what is it that they need, and what more information, whatever information they can supply will definitely help the pipeline upstream. So
let's turn to the retailer then, who's controlling that last 18 inches, Julie, as you say. What additional data would you like Raj to be supplying to you?
Well, I think that it's kind of, I actually kind of agree with Raj. We have the customer who is voting one way or the other. We have inventory both in our cases, and we also have other inventory that's virtual. And so how are they voting? Which ways are they leaning? Obviously we're one retailer. Other retailers, depending on who they are trying to attract, might be slightly different. But we find that the more information we share with our manufacturers, even outside of businesses that they are supporting us, we all win from that, because they then kind of, it's like it's like, do you know the person you're sitting next to, or are they an acquaintance? And the more you know about them, the better you can, make magic. So I think there is something, if we could all, we're all in it to make money. We all, and we all are competitive. But if we can be competitive in the spirit of making the whole industry better, I think that some of that, kind of removing some of our gloves and sharing some of that information upward, I think could be really interesting.
Okay, and Sophia, maybe I could turn to you with the same question. And one of the attendees in the chat has put, one of the key information that he sees is provenance. What do you think? What data do you think from your research is a key aspect that the retailer can use to help the consumer make decisions?
That's actually a very good question. And actually, we did a consumer research in terms of how the consumer worried about the provenance and the ESG agenda of the diamond. So how good and clean the diamond is. So I would state it in the following way, that in general, the consumer wants to be, so the basic level of the information in a way. So the consumer wants to understand if it's good or bad. And in a way, we need to provide the information that is good enough for the consumer, that he would be feeling that he's trusting the source, trusting the retailer. And then when it is okay, when this question is solved, that the diamond is not a blood diamond, that everything is good with the diamond, then this is the tipping point actually, when the consumer is switching to the emotional story. So here I wanted to say that in a way, you actually need to support two stories in a way, to support the data story and to, in a way, provide the information so that the consumer would be confident in a diamond. But again, not like, it shouldn't be like all value chain. I haven't seen, like, none of my friends really ask me, oh, where is, I don't know, I want to know every step of this diamond, where it was mined, then where it was polished, where it was resold. I'm not sure that the consumer really wants to get all this information. What the consumer wants is being confident that he did something good with this purchase, helped some communities and et cetera, and he wanted to know that this product is nice and clean. So saying that, first of all, we need to provide the data to provide the confidence. And for that, you don't need too much of any information, actually. So some basic provenance information will work. And then actually, like, to provide this whole emotional story, you actually need the data, I don't know, on the scarcity, for example, or that kind of things, actually to support the storytelling of the retailer that you're working with.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. That's really great advice. Mahir, finishing up with you on what data do you see is really going to help to match the consumer's desires and needs to improve sales?
There was a comment that was made in here that they said, I think Crystal said, I think Natural's romantic story is evolving. And I couldn't agree more. If I look at like someone who goes to Halesburg, and please forgive me, my knowledge is okay on Halesburg, but they've been around for more than 100 years. They started out in Kansas City, Kansas. There are people who have been going to Halesburg for more than 2, possibly 3 generations, right? So they're coming to Halesburg because they love the fact that their parents and grandparents actually purchased a diamond from that place to sell to give to their loved ones. And now they're there to actually buy, and they might have a bit more research, they might have a bit more knowledge. And the job of a great retailer is to be able to help understand the key needs of those consumers. Not many consumers come into a retail store and say, I want to know where that diamond is from. However, we recognize that one of the key things that consumers are wanting to understand a bit more is they want to feel good about the product and purchase that they're making. And a diamond being one of the bigger products that they make at the onset of their lives with their loved ones, to be able to tell that story about the natural beauty of the stone, the origin of the diamond, the ethical sourcing of the diamond becomes quite important. And because of those things, we've actually listened to our retail partners and have put things like, our companies that are responsible Jewelry Council certified, the manufacturing companies, we provide that data on our platform, because the diamonds that they are selling, the parent company is RJC certified, or if they're certified with De Beers' best practice principles, we provide that data on the platform. The origin of the diamond, we provide that on the platform, because it's all about how you tell the story. It's no longer about, here's a 1 carat GSI 1XXX none. You found it on such and such platform. The discount was that, and I'm going to meet it, and here you go. It becomes more about, let me tell you why my diamond is the one you should choose, and telling that story to the consumer to link that trust in. And at this point, the virtualizations, the origin information, the ethical sourcing information, those are the things that our retail partners care about, to be able to tell the story to the consumers. And that's why we've really spent a lot of time working with our retail and manufacturing partners, as well as our wholesale partners, to be able to gain this data and information, to be able to provide it downstream to our retailers so they can provide it to consumers.
Excellent. Thanks, Maher. Nice words at the end. Listen, we've got a little bit of time for a couple of questions, and we do have some nice ones here. There's one from Stefan Fischler in Antwerp. Thank you, Stefan. It's for Julie, if I can. Julie, how do you gauge the right balance of information provided to the consumer? When is it too much, or is it never too much?
It's a really good question. We try to we train our associates. We're known in the industry for having some of the best. We try to train them with a foundation of information and education, and start with the basics. And then if the customer continues to probe and inquire, we give that information as best we possibly can. I personally don't think there is too much information, especially again because so much is accessible. If you withhold or appear as though you're withholding, that just perpetuates the problem of building trust. So I would say more is better.
Okay, and Raj, if I can turn to you, I think with this question from Mark Hanna, do you believe that transparency to the consumer requires documented track and trace data, i.e. blockchain?
So yes, but of course everybody's within the supply chain has their business, and giving information through such a platform is probably good because it is blockchain and therefore it is secured. But what is the information that is necessary for the consumer? Is it necessary for the consumer to know that they bought, for example, here as we are on this platform, that they bought from Helzberg and Helzberg bought it from Rosy Blue and Rosy Blue bought it from De Beers? I don't see the point. The consumer should know that they bought it from Helzberg, and they are buying from Helzberg because they trust Helzberg for whatever job they did while they bought the stone.
Yeah.
So the system should show that the supply chain is very ethical. I mean, it's completely ethical, and that Helzberg has done their job before they bought the stone.
Yeah.
You don't need to know they bought it from Rosy Blue and so on. So yes, but with keys inside.
And they also kind of want to know that the supply chain is as short as possible, because that'll make them more confident about the price.
Yes, that's also one thing. But I think, I mean, when we were talking about transparency and everything, I feel the diamond industry, if you look at to compare with any other stones or any kind of other raw material that comes into jewelry, is probably the most transparent because of the way it's structured, right from the rough to the polished. I mean, rough assortments, the way the boxes are sold, and so on, with pricing, manufacturing labor, the grading report costs that are added on it. Then, of course, it gets to the retailer and so on. It's quite transparent if you look at it in a way to compare with many other products. Okay.
I've got a question that I think is nice for Mahir here. From Catalina Rosca. Mahir, how do you think the shortening of the supply chain is going to affect markups and relationships from the dealer to the retailer? And how's the approval policy or the memo policy going to be influenced by online platforms such as Uni?
So so right now, if you look at the diamond industry, there are usually anywhere between roughly about 8 hands that a diamond goes through before it gets to a retailer to get to a consumer. Now, that's an average amount, and you know, it goes through various different hands, and hence that's why it's called the spaghetti juncture. Now, I don't believe that shortening the pipeline necessarily means that, you know, there's, you know, these platforms like Uni are here to get rid of wholesalers. In actuality, there are wholesalers that are phenomenally capable and able to do things that no one else in this industry can. When they know what Helzberg or Costco or Zales or whoever else it might be that is buying diamonds, Chatai Fook, whoever the retailer is that's buying diamonds, when they know that retailer is looking for specific types of goods, for specific types of products, they go out there and buy it on a regular basis, and they put it, they actually stock it and hold it and help sell it directly to those retailers. So they provide a huge benefit to this industry. I don't think we'll ever see an industry that goes from mining to manufacturing to retail. I think there will be some of the goods that will be requested in that manner, but I still believe that there's a wholesale part in this industry that's quite critical. And so to answer that question, I believe that this is going to help improve the margins for everyone that's within the industry and how the industry works. Whether you're a wholesaler, a manufacturer, and also a retailer who's purchasing these diamonds. But I think the other thing that it does, it helps with the just-in-time service. Just-in-time is such an old thing to be talking about today, but you know, I do have to bring it up. If a retailer needs a product that they need to sell and their retail store doesn't have that, and no retail store, no matter how great of a stockist you are, will have every single thing that a consumer is going to ask for. So to be able to have a connection to a live inventory that helps you to be able to be much more successful with the customer that you have, the consumer that you have, is the huge value add that organizations like Uni and others that are out there can actually provide to the retailers. So my hope is we're going to help create a much more efficient marketplace. And the desire is for everyone within the marketplace to continue to be more and more profitable, because there isn't so much lag time from when the diamond is sourced to when the diamond is sold to the retailer.
Great. Okay, that's a really good point. Thank you for bringing the just in time. It's a nice way to end today's discussion. We're at past, so thank you everybody for staying with us. I want to ask Gaetano perhaps to say a few words at the end there, just to wrap up, Gaetano. Just a few words if you can.
Thank you very much, Ed. But I want to express my very deep appreciation for these magnificent speakers today, and thank not only to all of you, but obviously I want to thank Mayar for being once more and again our sponsor and supporter in let us doing what we do, or what we are trying to do. And what we are trying to do is number one, I take few words from each one of you and also from our very esteemed audience today. Where do we stand? Well, where do we stand? We stand in a new condition, in what I would like to call nearly post-pandemic era. We are standing in a very different way to approach every single issue. The industry in these last 2 years has grown dramatically. I would say that was pioneering at the beginning of the pandemic, and now, even though in 2 years time only, has become truly an adult industry, a responsible industry. And I would say that, you know, as somebody was mentioning in the chat, politically, economically, socially, technologically, legally, and environmentally correct.
Yeah.
Why? Because this is the right thing to do, and this is the right thing to be. There is no other reason. We don't need to show that we are socially correct, or we are making the due diligence, or we are making ABC. We are, and we are like this since many thousand years, because it's a question of reputation, honesty, transparency. So being certified by RJC is wonderful. I fully agree. But in the meantime, if we are not making our own due diligence at home, each of our homes inside, obviously we cannot let Julie to be very successful with the consumers, because it's not only because the company, but it's because the company is conscious on what has to be done in order to reach the consumer in the right way. And that is the way to do that. I want to thank Sophia, because representing Bain and Company, I mean, we have all taking advantage of a company like that. I mean, yesterday I was at lunch with somebody not from Bain, but from another company that obviously, I mean, is as well in the market as a few other companies, but we take advantage. We take advantage because they can see, and thank Sophia for your point of view. We can see the horizon in a different way. The vision is different, but we all have a different approach today. So at the end of the day, what we need to be educated to new approaches, and CIBJO is taking on the organization the role of offering education. We need certification, because certification in every single sense is important, by third party. RJC or is one of those good example. We need gathering together, and I mean, I personally, exactly after 2 years, I'm starting again traveling this incoming Saturday. And we all will enjoy, for those who will go to Dubai, will enjoy Dubai, not because Dubai, but because we can see each other in person again, gathering for several reasons, and we will enjoy the Dubai Diamond Conference thanks to the MCC and my good friend Martin Lick that has organized it. But overall, we have to take care and look at our supply chain internally, because what Raj said, is not important, even though it is important, where Julie is buying the diamonds. It's important how Julie will offer the diamonds to their client, as well the pieces of jewelry. I give you a simple, stupid example. I wear today these cufflinks, which are made by a shell that I took in the beach of my hometown in Sicily. That shell, contain something that we like in that part of the world, serving, cooked and serving. But I took the shell and I made cufflinks with gold. Now, those elements for sure are sustainable because the shell is there. What is inside the shell has been eaten because that is, and was very good, by the way, was eaten by me. But overall was sustainable because instead to put in the trash, I did this, which is a simple thing. Now, this industry is going in that direction. This industry is an example of what could be done ethically correct, transparently correct, socially correct, environmentally correct, legally correct. And this is an industry that I am proud to be in. After 201 years this year, my family, as well, a great history of many of you. But again, we are an industry whose example is to follow. Those that want to attack us, welcome, attack us. But we, instead of reacting, we acting, contributing to the good of the industry and to the good of the entire society, despite where this society is physically located. We have shown that we are much ahead every political issues around the world. We can see what's happening today all around the world, but we are growing and acting peacefully, and we are acting in a way that the industry, and not only the industry, but through the industry, societies are grown and flourish. And I don't want to go forward because I feel proud, as I am proud, to be part of this industry. But I want, before closing, thanking you very, very, very much, both from our speaker side, from our sponsors and Mayar, thank you again, and obviously from the side of our esteemed attendees. Thank you very much. And obviously, Ed, thank you, and Stephen, thank you for all the efforts you have done. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your words, Gaetano. To finish up, and just very briefly at the end, please join us again next month, where we will be live and in person at a trade show with a hybrid seminar too. Actually, I'm so looking forward to being on stage with a group of panelists who will be joining us at Vicenza Oro in the beautiful city of Vicenza next month, March 18th. We will be talking on 2 different topics with 2 different panels, one on technology and creativity, especially in the platinum supply chain, And one topic which I think Gaetano really talks about what you were just discussing there, the positive impacts that jewelry brings to society. We'll be joined by representatives from the diamonds, from the gold, from the platinum, from the colored stones and the pearl industries to talk about the positive impacts and the benefits that jewelry brings to society. So please join us for that and other Jewelry Industry Voices webinars. Thank you, Gaetano and Sibjo, for hosting these events. Raj, thank you so much for your time today. All our best to your family and everybody at Rosy Blue. Please stay safe and have a safe trip to Dubai if you're traveling.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed.
Julie, we really appreciate you getting up early. We hope your storm is not too bad and wish all of the very best to Beryl Raff and all of our friends over there at Hellsberg. Thanks for joining today.
Thank you for having me.
Sophia, it's the end of your day. You've had a long and busy day out there in Novokuznetsk, if I pronounce it correctly. It's really great to have you, and thank you for representing Bain so beautifully and so eloquently today.
So much happy to be involved. Again, thanks for having me and giving the ability to provide the perspective not only from the industry per se as an insider, but more of an outsider that works a lot with both the industry players, financial institutions, and investors that are willing to help the industry to develop further.
Thank you. And last but not least, Mahir, thank you for all your support. And one of the questions in the chat was you talked about watches and they're wondering what watch you're wearing today.
It's an Apple Watch.
Okay, great. So we're still working on the Patek, right?
Oh, we're still aspiring. We're still aspiring. Thank you very much for your help and support and organization. You and Stephen have been great, and Gaetano for your guidance, and the panelists. Really appreciate everything that you guys have helped us be able to accomplish today.
You're welcome. I learned so much today. I picked up on one comment from Sophia about data allows us to increase our speed of reaction. I thought that was a really valuable comment for me. And then, of course, the other thing that I learned, which I will take away, is panda in the room. I think that one, we're going to have to use that again. So thanks to all of you. Have a great rest of your day, evening, morning, whatever it is, wherever you are. Take care. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Arrivederci.
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 Bye.